Okay. Can you confirm for me that that's recording, Vesna?
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is Demystifying Stage 3 of LearnIT2teach on Avenue. I'm here with Vesna Radivojevic, and we're going to work through this presentation with you today. To begin, though, I'd like to acknowledge that New Language Solutions is based in Ottawa, Ontario, and we acknowledge that our head office is on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Beyond Ottawa, we have staff working in locations across Canada. New Language Solutions is grateful to have the opportunity to work as a guest in communities and territories across the country. And we honor the stewardship of the many Indigenous peoples who have resided on these lands since time immemorial. On a personal note, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that I live and work within the ancestral and unceded traditional territory of the Halkuminum and Senkotan speaking peoples. Vesna, if you'd like to say yours there.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm joining you from the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples who have been stewards of this land from time immemorial. And I'd like to acknowledge my privileges as a white person with the Canadian citizenship. And I'm committed to learning about the history of Canada from Indigenous perspectives and put my words into action to contribute to change.
Thank you very much, Vesna. I appreciate that. And thank you everyone for being here today again. If you'd like to use the chat to say where you're coming from today, that would be very welcome. And next, we're going to take a look at our outline for today. Vesna, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. So you can see what we are planning to do today. It's a small group, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. And if we can't, as we said, we will answer them at the end. But it's good to know what questions you're having, because as we are presenting, we can tailor this presentation to you. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Vesna. And I'd like to introduce Vesna. We've worked together for many years now. I've known Vesna through VCC and also through LearnIT2teach. She's my fellow mentor out here in BC, and we're really lucky to have her wealth of knowledge and experience with us today. So thank you very much for coming, Vesna.
Thank you, Paul, for that introduction. And I'll take a guess and say that the chances are that Paul has supported everyone who is here with us today, either directly or indirectly, maybe as a live help assistant or a mentor. Maybe you have read some of the answers to your questions on the Avenue Teacher Forum, or maybe you have attended his workshops, either online or both online in person. He's also a resource developer, so you probably have modules in your course that he co-created with his team. And as Paul said, on a personal, I have had the pleasure to work with you, Paul, and I appreciate, I have to say, not only your expertise, but also your presence, calm presence, sense of humor, and ease with which he supports teachers. And if you haven't seen Paul doing these workshops, you'll know what I mean very soon. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Vesna. That's so kind. That's really kind of you. Let's start off by talking about help with Avenue. This is really great slide. LearnIT2teach.ca, that's our public portal. And on LearnIT2teach.ca, you can use the live help chat to talk with one of the mentors in real time on weekdays, or leave a message outside of those hours and we can get back to you. You can also access instructions for stage 2 and 3 and the Avenue More help files. I'm just going to jump to that tab here. This is LearnIT2teach.ca. And down in the bottom corner, you'll see the green widget here. If I click on this, I can chat here with a live help operator and get help in real time. An excellent tool. If we're not online outside of the hours, work hours on a weekday, you can leave a message and we'll get back to you. Other things that you can find on live help, on LearnIT2teach.ca are the Avenue support documents, the Avenue webinars. There's some great documents here. I'm going to click on Avenue webinars. We'll go to this page. You can find all the old webinars here. The last one we did was Demystifying Stage 2, so you can find those there if you'd like to access those. I'm going to get rid of that live help chat there. And then Avenue support, sorry, if we go to the support tab, you can find support for Stage 2, Stage 3, and more help. Today we're looking at Stage 3, so if you go to this page on the public portal, you can access most of the documents from Stage 3 without having to log into the course. If you'd like to do that, these are all PDFs that you can use to work your way through the course. Okay, so that's LearnIT2teach.ca. Another great resource is the Avenue Teachers Only Forum. I have another tab open that I'm going to take you there to see that. And I'll go over here. The Avenue Teacher Only Forum, a great resource that many of you have probably accessed before. I just wanted to remind you that there is a search feature here on the forum. So if I wanted to type in something like assignment poodle and then hit enter, I'm going to find that there are 14 forum posts about assignments or Poodle already here. So quite often you can find answers to your questions just by using the search feature. If you don't find the answer that you're looking for, you can add a new discussion topic to the forum and look for answers to your questions that way. Also in the forum down the side here, you have related links. This is a very useful box with some great links. Development progress, if you'd like to see what's coming next. Frequently asked questions is a great resource. And you'll also find the webinars here, and then down below some teacher postings with Avenue related resources. So there's a lot of great stuff in here, including some links for Avenue teachers and links for Avenue learners. So there's an awful lot to see in the Teachers Only forum, and I really recommend that you go there if you're looking for answers to questions or new resources to use. The other thing that you can do is email your mentor at any time. We're very quick. I think most of us are quick to reply, and we're ready to help you if you have questions along your way in Stage 3. Next thing we'd like to do is to talk to you for a moment and do a couple of polls. So I'm going to launch the poll now. Where's that? Polls. Sorry. Polls. Here we are. And we'll launch the first one just to get an idea of who's in the room. The first question is, how long have you been using Avenue? Less than a month, 1 to 3 months, 3 months to a year or more? I'm seeing a lot of people saying a year or more already. Okay, looks like 3 months to a year or 1 to 3 months. This makes sense. I'm kind of glad no one said less than a month. This is the Stage 3 webinar, so thank you for that. Okay, we've got 8 out of 9 participants have answered, so that's probably me who hasn't. So I'll end the poll there. Good to know. Everyone here has been using Avenue for at least a month, and many of you for a year or more. Thank you very much for that, everyone. Okay, if you've had a chance to take a look at the results there, I'm going to launch the next poll now. Poll number 2. Are you teaching blended online or face-to-face classes? I'm assuming a lot of people are going to say blended here, or online only, possibly face-to-face only. The responses are coming in. Looks like the bulk of our participants are teaching in a blended setting. Some are online only, and we do have some that are face-to-face only as well. Avenue is great for supplementary materials or things that you want to have students do before they come to class. So there's a lot of great things that can be used for face-to-face only as well. I'm going to share the results for that so everyone can see. So, 4 out of 8 people are in a blended context, and then 2 for online only or face-to-face. Thank you, everyone. And we'll go to the final poll here. And this is, what stages have you completed? Now, this isn't a trick question. We just wanted to be sure that we know who we're talking to today. So you can choose multiple here, so it should be interesting to see what people do. Looks like most have completed stage 2. Okay, good. So I'm assuming you completed the stages before. And yeah, all people are answering. It was fun setting up the polls. You can have multiple choice or single choice. Anyway, looks like everybody's ready for stage 3. So thank you for signing up for the webinar today. Thank you very much. I'm going to share the results now so you can see that. And just take a moment to look if you'd like. Everyone here, though, I believe, is in stage 3. So we're going to stop sharing that now, and we'll get rid of the polls. And the next thing we wanted to do was ask you some questions that if you could answer in the chat for us. The two questions are, why is it a good idea to complete stage 3 training? And we'd like to hear this in your own words. And what has been your biggest challenge so far as the training goes? So I'll leave those questions on the screen. And if you'd like to use the chat, type out a few, just take a couple of moments here to type out your thoughts. If you'd like to share those with us. We're just curious what people think and what kind of challenges people are facing as they go through stage 3.
We asked this question because there is a big jump from stage 2 to stage 3. It's more involved, and we just wanted to see if you're maybe at the beginning of stage 3, maybe you're not yet familiar with what the requirements are.
Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of things already. The reflective statement, yeah, that is a bit of a challenge. It's sort of like the report at the end. A lot of teachers do get through the tasks fairly quickly and then sort of get held up there. But you know, speak from the heart and do your best to get through those reflective statements. It is an important part of the process to think about what you've done and the challenges and things. The next question, I believe, came in on the registration form as well about being a supply teacher and completing stage 3. That does make it a challenge. Stage 3, like stage 2, is a practical stage of training. And by that, I mean you're expected to work with students online for a minimum of 4 weeks. So as a supply teacher, I've seen this done before. If you happen to get a long-term position, substituting for someone on an LOA or a maternity leave or something like that, that's a great time to get through your stage 3 training. Also, if you can do a couple of weeks here and a couple of weeks there, you can talk to your mentor about that and work out a way that you can make that work for you if you're a supply teacher. So to answer the question, there is a practical part where you do need to work online with students for 4 weeks minimum. So as a supply teacher, you'd need to have a class. I've also seen the supply teachers talk to a teacher about sort of borrowing their students, working off the clock probably, and just using those students as a testing ground for the activities that you create and to get that time in. Something again to talk about with your mentor and see what sort of situation you could arrange. I see here, I think it's a good idea because it gives you more control of the content. Yes, biggest challenge is getting started. It's hard to find the time. Time, yeah.
And I wanted to add about being a supply teacher that while you are waiting and hopefully you'll get your class or be able to arrange for to borrow a class, you can complete some other part. You already have a course, and there are parts that don't require, I can say, theoretical parts that you can complete while you're waiting. So at least partly you can do the work, and then hopefully you'll get your class.
Yeah, really good point. Thank you, Vesna. I see other people here saying things, being able to do more exercises and challenges time and getting through the training. The more complicated activity types like quizzes and other things, that is part of stage 3. So it does take a bit more time, but I would say to that as time goes on, you will find that you speed up and that there are ways to copy and paste from Word documents that you may already have that can really kind of speed things up. And hopefully today we'll have a chance to show some of that. Thank you very much for all your thoughts here, everyone. Yeah, Vesna.
I see that one teacher who is teaching literacy students is, of course, that's an issue using your courseware with literacy students. But there are ways, there are some activities that you can do in stage 3 that lend themselves well to teaching a low level. And maybe if you have some specific questions, you can ask us. But you are in the right place because we'll go over all the requirements and hopefully you'll get some ideas how to get started or how to plan doing this stage. And I hope that everybody here has that PD paid because you need at least 30 hours in order to complete this level, and it depends how much time you have and how much time you want to spend. So
Yeah, thank you
it all
for that,
depends on
Vesna.
you.
I want to jump in there too and make the point that we do say minimum 4 weeks online with learners, and then should be completed within 4 months. That's not a hard thing. If you talk to your mentor, if you're in touch with them and you tell them that you need some more time, we're very understanding about that. So if you do need more time, that's not a problem. You just need to reach out to your mentor. I'd also like to say for people teaching lower levels, if you think the activity types that are required in stage 3 are too difficult for your learners, you can always build one as an example for your mentor to show that you can do it, but then keep it hidden from your students so they don't actually use that one. So there are ways to complete the tasks, even if it's not necessarily appropriate for your levels. But most activity types can be worked in such a way that they can be suitable for lower levels too, as Vesna said. Well,
That's a
thanks
good
very
point,
much.
Paul.
Yeah, this is
Good
really
point.
great.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did this little chat. That's really interesting. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing that and for your ideas as well. We're going to move along now. This is my favorite slide in the presentation, and Vesna is going to speak about it. This is sort of stage 3 in a nutshell. So kind
Yes.
of everything you need to do is here on this slide.
Yeah. And
So
Paul, please jump in if I forget something, or if you think it would be a good idea to show the teachers what we mean. As we said, so there is the practical part, and the practical part is basically editing your course. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are practical parts that you can do in that you will do to show your mentor that you can do these activities. And then number 1 is a reflective discussion. And maybe, Paul, you can go to stage 3 and just we can take a look. And needless to say, downloading the assessment form, you have done stage 2, and you want to start by downloading stage 2, 3 form and looking at it and making a plan and strategizing. So Paul is pointing to one of the requirements, which is a reflective discussion on challenges and solutions, and he'll tell you more about it in a minute. Then the next one is some of you, as you said, you are teaching blended classes. Some of you are teaching online classes. So in this section, we are asking you to choose one of the two. If you are teaching a face-to-face class, then in my mind, it makes sense to choose a blended model. Because you will be supplementing your class material with Avenue, with your course. So what you need to do is basically show us how you plan a lesson using Avenue, either for your blended or your online course. So not for both, so you're just downloading one and doing what needs to be done for that one. And yes, Paul is showing you the template, where the template is. So you download it, and then you will tell us which parts are done online, which parts are done face to face if you are in a blended class, or which parts you did with your students when you met them on Zoom or Big Blue Button, and which parts you ask your students to do when they are at home, so asynchronously. And we, as mentors, so you will be sending this template, completed template to us, and we as mentors will give you, we have kind of an assessment form for this, and we will give you our feedback on your plan. And we are not assessing your the content, but we're just seeing whether the parts are gelling. So you want to use Avenue not in just as a separate space where students go at some point and do some activities, but you want to blend them with what you're doing face-to-face. The same thing with online classes. That's what we are looking for. The more details you want to give us, the better, but you will decide how much. And I think that's all I wanted to, and yes, there is a quiz that you need to do. So just focus. The most important part is not to worry. You don't have to do both, but just choose either fully online or blended section and complete the activities there. So in addition to downloading the assessment form for stage 3, you need to download the template for your either blended or online, fully online course.
I'm going to jump in there too, just at that moment. Thank you, Vesna. The stage 3 assessment document, I'm going to open that up so you can see it here. This is like a checklist. If you follow along the assessment form and answer all of the questions, anywhere you see yellow, you need to add information. You'll find that the very first thing we showed you, the fully online discussion forum, is here. And it's a checklist that you can follow through. So doing one or the other, as Vesna just said. Thank you for that, Vesna.
Yeah, and you can compare, like you can basically look at your assessment form and look at the stage 3 training course and match the parts. And that's how you can plan, okay, when do I have time to do what and how will I do it? And obviously, the best thing, like if you have your mentor, there is a lot of support, but it takes sometimes maybe 2 minutes for maybe your coworker to show you something that you haven't done and they have done. So please try to find, or you probably know who in your school is working on this training, and maybe get organized and ask for your administration to have somebody, like a point person, to maybe help, have some help in the house. So that is useful too. So that is number 2. Number 3 is course editing, but it's more about administration. And it's about how you are tracking what students do online. And Paul will tell you more about that. And in the other requirements are enhancing your course with blocks, and we'll tell you more about that, and Paul will demonstrate what you can do. Then we have blending learning by adding resource, and we will, most of these things actually you have already done. When you were in stage 2, you added a file, URL, page, label, and the only new thing in stage 3 is folder. And of course, you can always try different things with labels and page, like you can play with these activities, but in the most basic form, you probably used them quite a few times. And on the assessment form, you will, it would be great if you just can leave us, like put a link to that, for example, file, or to that folder. You may have a lot of files, a lot of folders, and so on, but just pick one and put a link where so that we don't have to, when we go to your course, we don't have to look for it and spend a lot of time trying to find it. So that is really helpful. So that is adding resources. And then there are 3 learning activity guides. And we will go through each guide, and we don't have time to demonstrate everything, but if you have specific questions, you can ask us. And also, we are going to show you and recommend going to the exemplar course for stage 2 and 3, because you can see there, especially for these activity guides 1, 2, and 3, you can see a sample activity for each of the requirements. And be careful, like for example, for adding resources for activity guide 1, you need to demonstrate you can do 3, but for guides 2 and 3, you just need to pick 1. Of course, you can do more, but you can, based on your class's needs, your preference, your comfort level, you can choose what you want to create. So that part is creating. And then another part, which is also course editing, but it is finding something on Tutela, like an H5P or a SCORM activity, and adding it to your course. So this way, you don't have to start from scratch, but you can add something and then use it as is, or you can make changes to it. So that is another practical part. And then the last part on the slide is best practices in settlement language. So it's a database that you need to add your, to share your idea about how you're using your course with your students. And you can read some examples so that you can get some inspiration. And your mentor will make sure that you posted something here. And if something is missing, all of these things that I have explained, if you haven't met a requirement, your mentor will tell you and ask you to go back and do it. So that's basically it. And of course, we really appreciate when you give us your feedback, because it makes for other people who are coming after you, we are hoping that we can make things better. So if there are any suggestions, I know it can be overwhelming. I know that you feel alone, but this session and other support that is in place is designed to help you not feel alone. So that's all for now. And Paul will go next and will give you more details about some of the sections.
Thank you, Vesna. I just noticed in the chat, someone asked, is it okay to use examples we've already set up for stage 2? Best not to reuse activities that you submitted on your stage 2 assessment, because your mentor has already seen those. So it would be far better to either change them, update them, or to create something new. And just to make the point too, I've had the case where teacher has submitted one of the preloaded activities for their stage 3 training. And just to remind that this is about creating something new. So something from scratch that's something that you've created. Now, if you have an activity already set up in Microsoft Word or some other word processing program, it's very easy to move those over and digitize them. So that is something you can do to save yourself some time when you're doing your training tasks for stage 3. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm going to move along now. The fully online and blended learning reflective discussion is a forum. It's just a discussion forum. I'll just jump over into the stage 3 course there. It's just a place to talk about your experience, what you found as challenges, different things, successes you've had. You can always read what other teachers have written, other trainees have written, so you can read their posts before writing your own. So this is a forum where we ask you to answer a couple of questions and then respond to a teacher with a response to one of their posts as well. So that part of the training really doesn't take very long. The discussion forum is just that, a discussion forum. So that's something that you can do when you get started, and then you can look back on it when you're finished stage 3 training and see what's changed or what else is new with you. The next thing that Vesna mentioned is the course management section, explaining how you used any of these features. And you only need to talk about one of these features, but I've set up a little scenario in my courses today where I can kind of show you an example of all of these features in just a few moments. So what they are is reporting, which is looking at reports about students or activities to see what kind of activity there has been or what grades they got and things like that. Completion tracking is something you can set up course-wide so that you can set up different criteria for different activities to be considered complete. This can be quite useful if you're using one of the other management features, which is restriction access settings. In that case, you could set up an activity that requires completion with the completion tracking, and then another activity that follows cannot be accessed until the first activity has been completed. So these can kind of work together, these completion tracking and access restrictions. Badges are something that's a lot of fun for students. There's a great webinar by Nancy about gamifying your Avenue course, and badges can be a part of that. It's a way of rewarding students and giving them something to collect. So we'll see a little bit of that in a moment. And then groups and groupings. So remember, for stage 3, you only need to use one of these functions to satisfy the requirements, but you may find that just in your day-to-day use of Avenue, you end up using more than one. So with what those 5 there are in mind, we're going to take a look in one of my courses now. So I'm going to go into another tab, and I'm in the wrong place. I'm going to go to my example course here, and I'm going to scroll down. Oh, I'm sorry. First, I'm going to turn editing on because I'd like to do some editing here. I'm going to scroll down to a section I've set up for today's webinar. You'll see it here, Demystifying Stage 3. I'm going to close my navigation drawer to make everything a little bit bigger for you. And what I've got here is I've got 2 pages set up. So these are pages like you did in Stage 2. And the idea here is that my class is going to do presentations. I have 2 groups, and the 2 groups are presenting on BC regions, and the other group is presenting on BC cities. So what I'd like to do is use some of those course management features to make these accessible to only certain groups of students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the edit settings for the BC regions one. Okay, now you'll notice there's nothing here. This is just an example, but you could have the instructions here in the content of the page. So as it says, instructions here. I could have a description if I wanted, but I'm going to come down below to these different settings here. And one of them is restrict access. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to restrict access to this by adding a restriction. I've set up groups in my course, so I'm going to restrict access based on groups. And then it says student must match. I can say must not or must match the following. And the group that I'd like is group 1. So I'm going to scroll to the G's here and choose group 1. If I click on the eye icon, this will make it invisible to anyone who's not in group 1. So I'm going to do that, and that's that. Now, activity completion, I'm going to set this up here. The default is that students can manually mark it as completed. I'll show you what that looks like on the course page, but I'd like to have some conditions. So for activity completion settings, I'm going to say, show activity as complete when the conditions are met. The only thing for a page that the student can do is view it, so I'm going to require that they must view this page to complete it. Okay, I'm not going to put any tags on this because it's a page and it won't be auto-collected. So I'm going to save that and return to the course. And you'll see now that this activity, whoops, I went too far, now has a restriction setting below it, not available unless you belong to group 1. So I'm going to go to another browser now. I'm working in Firefox as a teacher. I'm going to go over to this browser here where I'm logged in as my sample student, Maria. And you'll see both of those activities are on Maria's page. I'm going to click refresh, and you'll see that nothing's changed. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go into the second one, edit this, edit settings. This is a page. All activities and resources in Moodle have these same settings, so you'll be able to do this for any activity type. Again, I'm going to restrict access. I'm going to add a restriction based on the group. I'm going to choose the group. I'll put in a G to move it faster to get to group 2. Group 2, I'm going to hide that from any student who's not in group 2. And then I'm going to set the same activity completion here. When conditions are met, they have to view this one. I could set a date if I liked, but I don't want to right now. And I'll save and return to course as my teacher again. Now, when I go back to my student role, you'll see the new restriction is here now, group 2. It's hidden otherwise, unless you're in group 2. When I come back to my student here and I refresh, the 1 has disappeared. So now only students in group 2 will see the BC Cities activity page, and only students in group 1 will see the BC regions. So this way I can keep things separated based on different restrictions. Activity restrictions can be based on all kinds of information, such as profile information, like a user email. if you want to make something just for one student that no one else can see. So now Maria is going to click on this group presentation. Group presentation, BC Regions. She's seen that now. She's going to go back to her page. And okay, you'll see the check mark has appeared here. So this has now been marked completed because Maria viewed it. If you look at the other activities, you'll see that they're not completed. So this is what activity completion can look like. And restricting access based on groups, if you've set up groups in your course, can make activities invisible to other students. So I'm going to return now to my teacher role. And just to show you very quickly, if I go to the top of the page and click the course drop-down menu for the editing settings and go down below to more. If I come to more here, you'll see that under the users tab, this is where you can set up groups for your course. Now, there are documents in stage 3 to support you with that. So I just wanted to show you the example today of how that works. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Groups and groupings, restricting access, completion tracking, reporting. I'm going to go back. I'm sorry, maybe someone needs to mute their microphone. Okay, I'm going to go back into my teacher course now. So I'm back to my teacher course. I'm going to open my navigation drawer. And in here, I'm going to click on participants. Now, if I'm a teacher and I want to see what a certain student has been up to, I can go down in my participants list and click on my sample student, Maria. And if I scroll down on Maria's profile page, you'll find under her course details, there's her group. She's in group 1. If I scroll down here, you'll find reports. There are today's logs, which show you everything that Maria has clicked on today and what time they clicked on it. All logs, which are every time Maria has clicked on anything at any time in your course, that will mark what it was and when they clicked on it. Outline report is one of my favorites. If I click on outline report, it's going to show me everything in the course and what Maria has done with it. So if I scroll down here to the Demystifying Stage 3 section, you'll see that Maria has viewed the group presentation page once at this time at this certain number of seconds. So if I go through, you'll see that Maria hasn't done much in this course, but this is what one of the reports looks like. If you look at the complete report, that actually will show you forum posts in full, database entries in full, will show you the different, here's a forum post that Maria made testing a tag for me. So it'll show you the quiz results. It'll show you everything in the complete report. So between outline and complete, you can get a lot of information about what a student has been up to. There's also browser sessions, grades overview, and grade. But just quickly, I'd like to take a look at the today's logs so you can see that click in action. So if I scroll down below, you'll see the number of times Maria has clicked and what time it was. And then below here, you can see that Maria has clicked on different things in different courses at different times, and you can see what each of them were. So it's a way of tracking students, knowing what they've been up to, what they've been doing, and that's Maria's reports. Now, I had set up a badge, and I had hoped that Maria would have been awarded that badge, but I don't think I did something right. So I was going to show all of those different things, but I thought there would be a pop-up. So I'm going to go back to my teacher's course and just very quickly show you where the badges are and how they can work very quickly in the course there. Again, with the course main menu drop-down editing menu here, once the course loads. Oops, I'm clicking too fast. I need to be patient. There we go. Scroll down to more again. And under more in course administration, you will find a section for badges. You can add a new badge or you can manage badges. And when you add a new badge, you give it a name, a little description that learners will see when they win that badge. And the images are quite fun. If I choose a file for images, we do have a badge repository for you. And there's all kinds of badges out there that you can choose from. So I'll just take your meeting skills. So these little badges, and learners are awarded them when they complete different activities based on criteria that you set up. So again, there are help documents to help you in the Stage 3 course with all of these things. And I'll just jump in there very quickly, back to Stage 3. And this section that we've been talking about just now is the course management. So there is a file here for each one of the things that you've just seen, and you can try that in your own course. Okay, so I'm going to move along. That's course management. The next one is enhancing the course with blocks. Blocks are fantastic. I love them. You only need to tell your mentor about 2 blocks that you used in your courseware from this list: random glossary entry, comments, remote RS feeds, HTML, level up, and activity results. And I'm going to go into my course now as a teacher and show you my 2 favorites, HTML and RS feed. So I'm going to go to the course itself. And down the left side of, or the right side of the course page, you'll find the blocks. The Avenue Help block is actually an HTML block. There's the calendar block that's very useful. Accessibility, allowing students to change the font size or the contrast of the page. Great comments here where students can leave a comment for teachers. This weather in the Southern Gulf Islands, this is an HTML block. I'm going to show you how to make that in a moment. The CBC, this is an RSS feed, fantastic feature. I'll show you how to make one of those in a moment. And then down below that, we have more blocks. Blog menu block, if you use the blogs, latest announcements connected to the forum, upcoming events connected to the calendar, online users, you see Maria's there right now, and so am I. Random glossary entry, these are great. They're connected to a glossary, and it can show a different entry each day or every time a learner logs in. Avenue related links, this is also an HTML block. This is also an HTML block, just a list of links for students. More HTML blocks, more HTML blocks. The level up, again, part of gamifying your course. This is a lot of fun. As students participate in the course, their points go up. I'll jump over to Maria there and scroll down, and you can see how she's doing. You can see all the same blocks here in the student view. And oh, Maria's at level 9 in my course. She's been very active. Okay, so these are all the blocks that are mentioned there, and the Avenue Beginner Help block is for lower level students. If you don't have that in your course, talk to your mentor. It's a very useful resource. Now I'm going to open up the navigation drawer because to add a block, I need this navigation drawer. I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom of that navigation drawer, and I need to drop, oh, the zoom thing is covering up my add a block option. How do I get rid of that? Okay, go away, zoom. I can't make it drop.
It's just below.
We can
Yeah,
see
We
it.
can see it.
Paul.
yeah, you can see it, but I
If we
can't
can
click
help
on
you
it.
now.
Oh, that's so funny. I can't click on it because the zoom toolbar is actually covering it. Can I move this? Let me see.
You could drag the
There we
toolbox
go.
up.
I got it. Yes, I think I clicked on it. Okay. So when you click on add a block, thank you very much for your help, everyone. All of these different things come up, all the different types of blocks that you can have. I'm going to do a quick example with an HTML block. So I'll click on HTML block, and that's going to add a new HTML block to my page. I'll scroll down to the very bottom, which is where it's going to appear. Just to give you an idea of how quickly you can do some of these stage 3 tasks. I'll find that new HTML block. There it is, new HTML block. I click on the editing menu and I can choose configure the new HTML block, which will open a new window. I want to give the block a title. I'm going to call this one Chilliwack Weather. The content, this is like a page. This is exactly the same as a page resource. You can put anything here. You could make an audio recording, you could add an image, you could add links, you could add a video. I'm going to expand the toolbar by clicking on the expand button there, and we're going to use the HTML feature. I'm going to go over here to WeatherLink. This is a great site. I'm going to take this and post it into the chat so that you can find that here. Okay, and on this page, WeatherLink, you can basically build these nice little weather widgets. So I'm going to select my region, British Columbia, and say go. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find Chilliwack, great town and a great band. I'm going to say display the code. And then what I do is I copy this code. So I'm pressing Control C on my keyboard to copy that text. And then I'm going to go back into my course here where I've got the content. When I toggle the HTML, it goes into HTML view where I can paste that code. So again, toggling that will change it from HTML view to normal view. I'm going to get rid of this bit of code here because that's going to center it in a way I don't want, and click paste. So I've just pasted that weather widget. I go back here, I can see it. If I toggle again, I can see the code. I go down below, I save the changes. And now I'm going to jump over to my sample student. I find this very useful to have a sample student set up so I can work on a different tab. I'm going to hit refresh on Maria's page, and you'll see the Chilliwack weather has now appeared. So that's a stage 3 task that I just did in a couple of minutes, and you can do the same. Watch the video on YouTube afterwards. I'm going to go back to the teacher's view again. I'm going to scroll down to the side, and I'm going to click on add a block again. This time I'm going to choose RSS feeds. So this is going to add a new RSS feeds block. I'm going to go to a favorite page of mine, which is CBC's RSS feeds. I'm going to paste that into the chat there. Okay. And you can choose any one that you want: politics, business, arts, and entertainment. So I'm going to take arts and entertainment. Again, I'm copying that RSS feed from the CBC page. I go back to my course. I scroll down to find that RSS feeds block. Where did it go? It's going to be under Chilliwack's weather. And I'm going to configure. Now, when I configure the remote news feeds block, there's a few different things here that I can change to make it display differently. I'm not going to worry too much. It also shows you all of the different feeds that you've already added. I can add a new feed, so I'll click on add a feed. I scroll down to the bottom of my list, add a new feed, and this is where I'm going to paste what I just took from the CBC page. And I can leave the title blank because CBC puts a title in for you. Shared feed, very important to say yes. Otherwise, this will be a personal feed just for me on my page, but I want my students to see it, so I'm going to share it. Now I add that new feed. I go back to my course, and I scroll down once more. And we're going to come to the RSS feeds block there. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to load. And I'm going to configure that news feed. Now, arts has been added to my list, so I select it. I'm going to say, no, I don't want a link to the original site because that will take learners out of my course. Channel image, if it's available, yes, I'll take that. And then I'll just say save changes. And if we go back to Maria now, just to take a look at it in the student view, we click on refresh. And under Chilliwack weather, we've now got the CBC Arts News RSS feed. So 2 blocks, really great ones, really useful. There's lots of widgets out there for HTML, and there's also lots of RSS feeds for the RSS feed block. So something that you can try out to use with your students. Okay, so that was the blocks. We're going to move along to the next thing here, blending learning by adding resources and webinar. Webinar. And Vesna, I'm going to turn it over to you now. I'll stop sharing my screen for this one, I think.
Okay, and we have only 10 minutes, and I'll have to leave, unfortunately, at 5 to 2. But you have added all these except the folder in stage 2, and maybe you already know how to do that, but I will try to quickly show you, and maybe we can also talk about why you want to do that. So I am just going to go to one course, and especially if you're teaching a blended or face-to-face class, you want to add those so that you want to add the folder so it doesn't take too much space, so you avoid scrolling too much up and down, and the same thing for your students. And if students miss classes, they can find them online, all the handouts that you chose. So to do that, and there are a few other advantages that's why you would want to use a folder. For lower levels, some teachers say maybe it doesn't work because then you have to teach them how to open the folder, how to download a page. So for everything you do on Avenue, there are different ways of doing things. So there is not only one way, but this is one of the the requirements. So that's why we're showing this to you. So you're going to resources and you are adding a folder, and you can name a folder. So I want my students to know how to use Zoom. So I'll group all the files here and add them to this folder. Please, Paul, because you speak more quickly and you're more efficient when it comes to showing. If I miss something, please jump in and tell us what else we can do. So I'm going to add a file, and I will go to uploading a file, and I don't know why okay, choose file. Just the same way you're adding a file, a single file, that's how you will do it. And I can add files one by one, and you can also create a zip file and add more files at once. So here is, for example, the single file that I'll add. It shows up here, and then I'll go again to choose another file. And for example, this PDF file, open, upload. So now I have 2 files and I can add more. You can also add a subfolder if it is necessary. And as I said, you can also, so I can create new folder, and I'll just say zip folder with Zoom documents. And I have already created the zip folder, a zip folder. So I will just go and created it, and now I will just go and choose that file, zip file, and open and upload it. So here is my zip file, and I will just go and display. You can see that in the folder, you can see what files I added, and then you have a zip folder, and also it shows what files are there. You can, if this is too much for your students, you can maybe have, or if you have higher level students, you can have a link to this folder in a page. So this is a way to enhance a page, and again, have a smaller section. So Paul, I am sure I missed something important here, like how you can display a folder. You have some options. I don't know if there is something that you wanted to add.
Oh, that was great, Vesna. The only thing I'd add is that you can also drag and drop the files into the folder in that add file window where you were selecting them from the computer. So if there are teachers out there today that are drag and droppers, you can do that as well. It can be done, you can do multiple files at one time, and any type of file can be saved in those folders, which is fantastic. So if you have an audio file you want your students to have, or some sort of PDF or Word document, they can all be saved in folders that way. And as Vesna said, it can save a lot of space on your course page. Real estate on the course page is quite valuable. No,
Yes.
that's great. Thank you, Vesna.
Yeah.
There was a question in the chat there, a couple of questions. Maybe we could answer them quickly. Vesna, I don't want to keep you, though. I know you do have another meeting. So I do understand. Sorry about that. A folder for everyday activities such as H5Ps we do in our class. For example, a folder for week of the course. No, that's not really how folders work. Folders are for files that you want your students to be able to download. If you wanted to group all your activities in like a one package for the week, I would recommend using the book resource. The book resource, you can set it up and have links to all of your activities that the students have to do that week in the book. So the students can just bounce out of the book to do different things. So a book, if you think of the chapters and the pages of the book as being the days of the week, for example, you could have the links that they need for the activities or resources they need for that week in the book resource, which is one of the options in the later creating new learning activities. So that is covered in stage 3. If you'd like to learn how to use a book, the documents are there for you in the stage 3 course. That's a great question. And there was one other question too about the blocks. Someone was saying that they did that in stage 2, and yes, some sort of gung-ho trainees do go beyond in stage 2 and try out some of the more complicated blocks. But yes, if you could make something new for stage 3, a different feed, a different widget, whatever you'd like to do, just so that your mentor isn't looking at the same thing again, because that doesn't make sense for progressive training like this. But thank you for those questions. I really appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen again and go back into our PowerPoint. So that was the blending learning by adding resources. The next one is creating learning activities, digital learning development activity guide 1. This is one that I was going to talk about, and I'd like to show a couple of examples of these. If everyone is okay with us going a little bit over time, is that okay with everyone? Feel free to leave at any time if you need to, and I do know that Vesna, you do need to leave, but I might.
Sorry, everyone.
Oh, thank you
Thank
for that.
you all, and you know how you can reach me.
Thank you
care.
very
Thank
much,
Paul.
Vesna. No,
Yeah.
thank you very much, and I'd just like to say I know how busy Vesna is. She's a lead teacher. She's a manager. She's helping people all the time. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
Okay, so please, folks, don't mind, don't be worried if you have to leave. Please feel free to do that. Digital Learning Development Activity Guide 1. This is the one where you need to make 3 of these activities for your stage 3 tasks. The choices are a blog task, a choice, which you may have done in stage 2, a forum, a glossary, a questionnaire, a wiki, or a Poodle voice recorder assignment. What I wanted to do today is to show you a forum and a Poodle voice recorder assignment, because those are some of the more common ones that teachers will submit for stage 3. And I'd like to show you a couple of tricks to maybe save you some time or just maybe some headache as you're doing these different things. So I'm going to go back into my course as a teacher now, and I'm going to scroll down to that section that I had set up for our webinar today, and I'm going to add something new. So I'm going to add an activity or resource. I'm going to choose the forum for this example. So I'm going to click on forum. And what I'm going to bring up on the screen now is something that I find very, very useful. Plain text notepad. I like plain text notepad because if you're working with Word documents and I was to highlight, say, all of this information here and then go to copy and paste it into my course, Microsoft Word has hidden code for its formatting, and you're copying and pasting that hidden code. So if you don't want to bring over the hidden code, what you can do in a Word document is you can highlight the text. I seem to be having trouble highlighting anything here. Not sure why that's not working for me. That's a problem. Oh, because this is where I write is here. So I'm going to just put some text there so I can quickly copy it. If I copy something from a Word document and then I paste it into a notepad, what happens is it removes all of the coding that you can't see behind the scenes. And now I have pure text that I can then copy and paste into Moodle and not bring over any hidden code that I may not want. So whether you're using a Word document or a plain text notepad, it's always good to sort of type your activities out in advance. So for the forum here, I'm going to copy my title, which is Spring Activities. So that's going to be the forum name. You'll see here that it's saved. I did this a little earlier to test it out, but what you'll see there is all this text here. Please share 2 to 5 things. Click on a button to add a discussion topic button below. These are my instructions. I bring them over and I paste them into my course. I added this image as well by clicking on the Add Image button, and then I can browse repositories and upload a file. And this one was saved on my computer in my little file here for this, spring weather. So that's the picture there, spring weather. And if I want to, I can copy. I'm a big fan of copy and paste from the file name. I've just copied the name of it. So I can, whoops, oh dear. I clicked on something. It's all right. I'm going to browse and get that picture again, spring weather. I've copied the file name from my file folder. The author is not me, it's Mikhail. I got this from Unsplash. The license is Creative Commons, and I'm going to upload that file. Now, I did this a little earlier as a test, so I'm just going to overwrite that. I type in a description for people who cannot see the picture. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because I find that picture is a bit too big. And I like to have them on the right side, so I'm going to put it on the right and save my image. So that's there. Now, it's a standard form for general use. We can take a look again at these restrict access settings are here, but I'm not going to do that. Activity completion, I think I will. I'm going to show activity is complete when conditions are met. And for a forum, you can have different conditions for activity completion. They have to see it, they have to view it, require posts, yes. And in this one, I'm requiring that they start one discussion and requiring that they post one reply. So until the student has viewed the forum, posted a discussion, and posted a reply, this activity will not be marked as complete. Now I'm going to save this and return to the course. I'm going to go back over to my Microsoft Edge student account, Maria Gupta's. I'm going to go back up to the section that we're working in here, which is Demystifying Stage 3. You'll see there's nothing here right now, but when I click refresh, Spring Activities form has appeared. Checkbox is there, not completed. So Maria is going to view it. She's going to add a new discussion topic. I'm just going to put some text in here, post to forum. Now, Maria is the only person in this forum, so she's not going to be able to reply. So when we go back to the course page, she still will have this marked as not completed. She needs to wait for another student to make a post so that she can reply to it. So if we go down now into that section there, Spring Activities, you'll see that it's still marked as not completed because she needs to make that reply as well. So that's a forum. I think that took me about 5 minutes. It took a little longer to type the text out, but it doesn't need to be difficult to get these activities complete for your stage 3 tasks. So I'm going to go back now to my teacher role, and this time I'm going to add a Poodle recorder assignment. So I'm going to add an activity or resource. I'm going to choose the assignment activity. And again, I've got my sort of lesson stuff already written out here in my text document. So this one's going to be called, What's the Weather Like Today? I'll copy that and paste it in here. For the description, I'm going to take this. Now this is going to be a fun one. This is a speaking activity, and I always like my students to listen when they're doing a speaking activity. So you'll notice here, please follow the audio instructions below. I'm going to hit enter twice, get a space there. Now I'm going to click on the microphone. Okay. And it's going to ask me to access my microphone. I'm going to say allow. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can see my text. Hello, Paul here. Could you please tell me your name, the date, the time, and what the weather is like today? Thank you. Okay, I've recorded that. I can listen to it again to make sure it worked okay. Paul here. Sounds pretty good. I'll upload that, and then I click on Insert. Now I'm going to get rid of the text that was there. That was just as a guide for me, the teacher. I'm going to delete those extra spaces, and then I'm going to highlight Add Submission, because that's the button they need to click on. Scroll down a bit. You can add files if you'd like. You can have availability settings. You can change the dates. Submission type, for this one, I just want the online Poodle, speaking activity, no online text or file submissions. Though you may want to add file submissions if students have trouble with the online Poodle. They can then make a recording with a voice memo on their phone, for example, and upload that as a file. So for my example today, I'm going to stick with just online Poodle, but that is a possible workaround for students who have trouble with it. Audio recorder, I'm going to set a limit of 1 minute, and then I'm going to scroll down. I don't need to worry about these. There's the grades and things I might want to change, but you can worry about that in your own course. Again, restricting access if we wanted to. Activity completion. Okay, so for this one, I want conditions. They must view it, they must receive a grade to complete it, or they must submit to complete it. As this is skill building, I'm just going to leave it as must submit to complete it, and then I'm going to save and return to course. Now, I always like to test things out with my sample students, so I'll go back over into Microsoft Edge. I'll click on refresh again. This activity will appear there. Maria clicks on that, and now you'll see that Maria has these audio instructions. Hello, Paul here. Could you please tell me? Listening to the instructions, has to click on add submission. So Maria comes in, add submission here. My name is Maria. Today is April 13th. It's about 2:07 and my webinar is going over time. It's overcast and rainy. Okay, so Maria's done that. We don't need to hear that. We'll upload that and save changes. All this to show you that now when I go back to my course page and the student role, Maria, you'll see that Maria now has a check mark that this has been completed. So this is a way for a teacher to keep track of what students are doing, and also for students to keep track of what they have done, and a way for you to set up access restrictions so that students, for example, have to complete the first activity before they can even see the second activity. Very useful tool. So that's a Poodle voice recorder assignment activity. So those are two of the stage 3 tasks that you could do. It doesn't have to take very long, and hopefully that was useful. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint now, and this is the point where I'm going to need to apologize. Vesna was going to do some examples for us from Activity Guide 2. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go into the Stage 3 course and just scroll down to that section, Activity Guide 2. So this is the Creating New Learning Activities section. We just looked at Guide 1. We added a forum and a Poodle voice recorder assignment. The documents are there to support you with doing that. Digital Activity Guide 2, this is the one where you'll find all of these different activity types. Some very useful ones here. And if I click on these folders, you'll notice that these are folders. There's the documents you need to be able to create these different activity types there for you in the folders. So I'm going to go back to that same section. And again, as Vesna pointed out, if you go to the Stage 2-3 exemplar, you can find examples of all of the different activity types in Stage 3, Activity Guide 2 here. So if you'd like to see examples of these, you can look at the examples and follow along in the documents that will help you to create those. Now, the very last section of the activity guides, oops, this is the wrong tab, back over here, is the Activity Guide 3. And this is where you only need to do one. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that, also only one for Activity Guide 2. So you don't have to make all of these, just one of them. And the same for Activity Guide 3, not all of them, just one of them. I've already shown you how to make an assignment. Quizzes, workshops, and lessons are also excellent. They do take a little bit more time to create. So what I wanted to show you today is sort of my process and some activities that I created for one of the modules that we have. So I'm going to go into my course here, Creating New Learning Activities. I've got these ones here, 2 quizzes, a workshop, an assignment, and a lesson. And they all come from this section. Let me close that so we can see better. CLB 7-8, Understanding and Giving Presentations about Workplace Safety. So this is a module that's available to you if you're teaching that level, and all of these activities come from it. Now, when I was developing this module with my partner Marjan, I have files, Word files for all of these. So let's take a quick look at, for example, where is it? The can never see it when you need it. Here we go. PowerPoint presentation tips. So I'm guessing many of you have lots of these kinds of documents on your computer already. And when you already have existing activities, this is the teacher setup from the module plan, the answer key, practice suggestions. Sorry, I'm going to scroll down. This is the actual activity. So what I would do is I would build an activity like this. The students watch a video and then answer the comprehension questions. I would build it in Microsoft Word so that I can have a nice paper copy of it. When I want to move it over, okay, so when I want to take this Microsoft Word document, what I'll do is I'll actually copy the whole thing, copy it, and then I go back into my text file and I would paste that in here. So I've got that here under quiz. Hope you can see that pretty well. 13 listening tips for PowerPoint presentation. These are the instructions. So I'm going to go into the activity now. This is the one here. These instructions here in the skill building task, when you're ready to begin, click on the button below. That's all here. So I've got that in my file. And now I've got this funny thing here that you may wonder what that's all about. When you're creating quizzes, whether you build your questions in the question bank and then add them to the quiz, or build your questions in the quiz, they are still added to the question bank. It's very important to give them names so you can differentiate them if you ever need to go into your question bank and look for something. So what I'll do is in this text file where I've pasted all the different things that I need for this activity is I create this file name sort of. I'm going to copy that, and then I go down for the description. I'm going to add that there. When I come to the questions, question 1, I'm going to add it there. Question 2, I'm going to add it there. And you may be wondering why, but I'm going to show you in just a moment. Question 3, I'll add it there as well. And I'll go down and paste this on all the questions all the way through. Okay, so I'm going to go in here now and we're going to open up the Edit Quiz page. Edit Quiz page is where you build your questions. So here I can add a new question by clicking on Add and then add a new question. And there's different question types: multiple choice, true, false, matching, all these different ones. And a favorite of mine down at the bottom is description. That's for just sort of a text box with no question. So you can use those to put a video at the top of the page in your quiz or something. So I'll cancel. But what I want you to see here is that each of these questions now has a unique name. These question names do not appear to the student. They are only for the teacher, and they are a way of finding these again when you go into the question bank, should you ever need to. So giving each question a unique name that differentiates it from other quizzes. For example, question 1 is not a great name for a quiz question, because you'll find over time you're going to have all these questions that are all called number 1, and it's hard to find the one that you're looking for. So I include the module, Understanding and Giving Presentations, the learning object number, which one is it on my page, and then a title, PowerPoint tips questions, and then the question number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when I'm doing this, if I open up the editing so you can see what I've done here, it's saved in a category for my course. The question name is here, and this is where I would be going to my text file. And now I'm going to copy this right from here, copy that, copy, and I could then paste that into here. Okay, but it's got the word webinar because that was for the webinar, so I'll get rid of that so I don't ruin my question. So that's the name, copy paste. I don't have to type that out every time if I've done it in my text file by copy and pasting it there. Okay, then you would copy and paste your question. Okay, and here, this is the video. So what I've got here is a YouTube embed code. If you go to YouTube where this video resides, I'm on YouTube now. This is the video that we're looking at in that quiz. If I click on the share button, I can get an embed code. I can copy that code, and then I can paste that in just as we did with the weather widget by toggling the HTML view. So that's how you can embed a video into your quiz if you'd like. And just to mention, this video is Creative Commons. If you're searching on YouTube, put in job interview tips, for example, and hit search. You'll get lots of great videos, but lots of them are copyright and you can't use them. So if you click below the search field on filters, you can choose Creative Commons. And now it's only going to show me job interview tip videos that are Creative Commons and free for me to use in any way that I like. So this is a nice tip for YouTube. Once you find the video, again, you can go to the Share tab to get the embed code to embed it into your quiz so that it looks like what we see over here with the video right there on the page. Then I would copy and paste over my answers if I need them, or any feedback that I want to give the students that I've written out in my document. Save the changes, and I've created a quiz question here to be part of this quiz. If I go to the quiz now and I actually look at it, I'll see that this is what it looks like. So the video is there and the questions are here, all the different things. And this was all taken from a Microsoft Word document, copied and pasted through the text file here so I can get rid of the code and put in these little tags and things like that. I also, for feedback, put correct, incorrect with the feedback, because only one of these is going to be correct and the other 3 are incorrect. This saves me typing out correct, incorrect every time, because I just have to copy and paste it and then delete the one that I'm not going to use. So some tips and tricks for building quizzes anyway. Now, a quiz is a bigger one. It does take a little bit more time to build, but as it is stage 3 and there are more hours devoted to this stage, you are taking on some of the more complicated activity types. Now, I know we've gone 15 minutes over time now, so I'm going to go back to my teacher sample course. I just wanted to show you some examples of the different activity types. In this tips for PowerPoint presentations, this was a skill building activity, so you'll notice the instructions here don't have much. This is not going to go to the ePortfolio. I have another quiz here, which is an example of a quiz that was used for an assessment task, which will be going to the ePortfolio using the tags to send it there automatically. And I wanted to show you the difference in the description. In the description for this quiz, I've included all of the PBLA information, the success, the instructions, the criteria. They only have an hour to do this one. And I put all of this here because whatever's in the description will go to the ePortfolio with the student's quiz results. So putting it in the description is a great way to capture that information for an assessment that's going to go to the ePortfolio. And you'll notice here when I click on continue the last preview, this quiz looks a little bit different. It's a different type of quiz. So that's different quizzes using the description for auto collection to the ePortfolio, and a couple of tips for when you're creating quizzes on how to save yourself some time. The other examples I wanted to show today were a couple of different things that I'll show you in the student view. This is what a workshop looks like. Workshops are quite interesting. There's different phases to them. The teacher sees more here than the student does, but in this particular one, students are going to read a document about summaries, and then they're going to actually write a summary for this text. And then when they finish that submission phase, they go to the assessment phase of the workshop. I'm going to move to the teacher view now to show you this. And in the assessment phase, the teacher can assign different students to each other to do peer assessment. And then the last stage is where the teacher will do some evaluation of both the summary and the peer assessment, and then the activity is finished. So workshops are a lot of fun. Again, they're a little more complicated to set up, but students really enjoy them, and they're very useful for group work or pair work in that you can have students working together and doing different things. I'm going to go back into that section there quickly again. The other one that I wanted to show today definitely was the lesson. We've already seen a couple of assignments. So lessons are quite different. I'll open it up in the teacher view. Okay, I was looking at this earlier, so no, I want to go back to the beginning. So in the teacher view for a lesson, you have the preview, the edit, the reports, and the grade essays, if there are essay questions. When I go to the edit screen here, this is basically sort of like a PowerPoint going up and down, where I'm building different slides and different jumps. So this is the first slide students will see. When they click on the button, it's going to jump them to the next page where they're going to have a question. If they get that right, it's going to jump them to the next page where they're going to see the next slide of the lesson. So lessons are quite nice because you can control the way the students work through it. And again, just to show you, this whole thing was very first built in Microsoft Word, and I'll just scroll down the page so you can get a feel for what that looks like. And when it came to building the actual activity in my course, I was just copying and pasting from this document. So you can see here, here's the exact same thing built in Word. It's the outline slides. The only difference in Word is that students would read the whole presentation, and then at the very end of the Word document, you'll find the questions here. The difference online in the course is when I created it, I put the questions in between each slide. But again, I was just copying and pasting into the lesson template that you build when you create a lesson. And finally, just one last glance back over here, I'm going to go back into stage 3 just to show you that lesson, workshop, quiz, and assignment are all here, and they have some excellent documents to support you in building those different resources. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my PowerPoint now and see how far off the time I am. Okay, that's activity guide 3. Learning objects on Tutela. This is great. This is a task, but it's just a great resource. You can find a SCORM or an H5P on Tutela, download it and then add it to your course. It doesn't take very long, and I'd like to demonstrate that very quickly for you. But just be careful not to download one that's already in your course. We see that a lot with stage 3 assessments, where teachers haven't taken a look at what's already in their course and accidentally downloaded one that was pre-existing in their course. So for this one, I'm going to go to Tutela here, and I'm going to click on login, and you'll notice that Tutela is now connected to Avenue. So I can say login with Avenue, use my Avenue login if my email address on Tutela is the same. That's the criteria there. And now I'm into Tutela. If I click on resources, I go into the search and I put in something like meditation, for example. I search for that. I come down below, I see, oh, here's an H5P for meditation. I click on that. I can take a look at it and preview it here in Tutela. Looks pretty good to me. So I can download that resource. You'll notice it's been downloaded to my downloads file. Now I'll go into my course. This is in my teacher role again. I'm going to go back to that section. I'm going to scroll down. And I'm going to click add an activity or resource. I'm going to click it again because I didn't wait for my course to load. Then I'm going to click on H5P. I'm going to give it a name, meditation. Description, I'll just put extra practice. I don't really know. You could get some instructions there or something like that. Package file, I go back to where I downloaded it. So I'm going to, I downloaded it twice. So let me take the one that doesn't have the one in it. So I've taken the one I downloaded there. I'm not going to worry about any of the other settings. Just click save and display. And I now have a new H5P in my course. And I think that took about 1.5 minutes. If I go back to my student view, I return to this section in the course in my student view, I'll find that the new activity is there, meditation. So all of that to kind of say that, there are a lot of tasks to complete for stage 3, but any one of them in its own is not that complicated. And again, just to remind, everything that you need to help you along in stage 3 is here. And the same is true for the tutela section. There's a whole section here with documents to show you everything that I just showed you in about 1.5 minutes, if you need some help to remember. Okay, so I'm going to return now to the PowerPoint just to make sure. The last thing on the list was demonstration, which we've been doing. Some general tips. Familiarize yourself with the layout and content of your course. As I said, knowing what's in there is great. You can also use those activities as templates. Remember, you can edit anything in your course. Look at the PBLA compatible modules and stage 2-3 exemplar course for more ideas, and you can learn from those examples as well. Give yourself time to create new activities. So what I'd suggest here is look ahead to the topics that are coming up in your curriculum, so you're not trying to create something for tomorrow. That can be very frustrating. I like to build my online activities half a month to a month in advance if it's possible. That can save you some time when you get to that unit, and it can save you some headache by not being rushed by the clock when you're doing your stage 3. So remember, you can look ahead and create activities for things to come. Having a sample student to use in another browser and test activities is great. All you have to do is click refresh and you can see the changes you've made, as I showed you today a few times. And then finally, customizing the content using images, videos, and audio players to add multimedia components to make your course more engaging for students. Just some kind of general tips. Some useful links here. These are all on the LearnIT2teach.ca website. The one is the forum that's on avenue.ca. We did show you all those today, and this PDF will be part of the package that goes out when the video is up on YouTube. So finally, we get to Q&A. So thank you very much for everyone who's still here. I don't know how many people made it to the end, but if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. If you'd like to unmute or type in the chat, if you'd like to do it that way.
Thanks a lot, Paul. That was good.
Oh, no problem. Happy to help. I hope you found it useful. And if it went a little quickly, please remember it will be on YouTube.
Hello, Paul. I have a question.
Yes.
I use LE website as a URL, but the students have to click on the link, go to the website, just insert their email and password. Is there any way that I can just embed the code of LE assignment and then they don't need to do the process?
Unfortunately, I believe Ellie is one where they have blocked embedding on other sites. So what's happening there is they want students to be on their site. They don't want you to have them on another site using their material. So that's something that, for example, Kahoot too, it also blocks embedding on external sites. So that can be a little bit tricky. If you're in your URL though, I'll just go in my course here in the teacher role. I'm doing another webinar actually at BC Teal coming up on embedding on Avenue. So I've got some stuff here about that. I'll just scroll down. Sorry for the scrolling, everyone. That's hard on the eyes. Get down below. Where was it? Okay, so embedding. Was it Quizlet? Yes, okay, so Kahoot, for example, if I try to put Kahoot into a URL and embed it on the page, you'll get this message, Firefox can't open this page. So what I do with those ones when that happens is I go into the settings you'll see there the Kahoot link, and under appearance, rather than embed, I'll use in pop-up because that will still work, and then the course will still be there for students as it will pop up over the course page for them. So, oh, I should have been patient there. We'll wait till it goes down here. So now that I've changed it to in pop-up, you'll see that it's going to pop up over the course instead. And learners again would have to log in if they needed to log into that kind of site. But if embed doesn't work, in pop-up will, and this way the students still have the course page and the URL at the same time. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions anyone has?
I have embedded the LE onto Avenue, but that only saves my low-level students from clicking onto another browser. They can go through the Avenue itself, but they have to sign into LE again.
Oh, okay, so it does embed then?
Just the URL. So they
Okay.
don't have, the only thing what Cut Shorts is, they don't have to go to another browser.
Okay, I see.
If while we are working in the class from Avenue, they don't
Yep.
have to go. Yeah. So through Avenue, they can click into LE, but they have to sign in.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Mary. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
So, thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Nathan.
Did anyone else have any other questions? I'm sure everyone's ready to go. There are contact links if you'd like, our email addresses, and also the project info, LearnIT2teach.ca, or you can follow us on Twitter if you'd like. And I'd like to thank you all very much for coming today, and to remind you that we'll send out the YouTube link for the video and the PDF of the presentation as well, so you'll get all those links. And thank you, everyone, for all of the comments here. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.
Bye,
No
everyone.
problem. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.